Hey gang, what's up? Welcome back here to another edition of Intuitive Angling, and thank you very much for spending some time with me today and checking out the video. Always very grateful for that. And guys, today we are going to be talking about Rick Clunn's 1990 Bassmaster Classic victory in correlation with Livescope and forward-facing sonar. And I've got some interesting comparisons I want to draw with this. To be honest with you, I'm not really sure what direction this video is going to go with. I'm just going to sort of wing it as I go along, but I have an idea of some things that I want to try to convey in this video that I think is pretty important with this. So appreciate you guys watching it, and I'd be curious to get your comments on it as well. Also guys, big thank you out there to everybody that's been subscribing here to Intuitive Angling recently and using all my tackle warehouse links in the description. Very much appreciated with that, guys. So everybody that's been supporting the channel like that, big thank you for me and my family on that. Okay guys, like I said, I'm not really sure how to go about this. I know what I want to accomplish by the end of it, so I'm just sort of going to wing it along the deal here. I want to draw a comparison between Rick Clunn's 1990 Classic victory, the way that bass fishing was in 1990 versus the way that it is right now in 2024 with the complete takeover of forward-facing sonar and fishing. And what I want to try to do is I want to try to demonstrate how the sport has been degraded over the last couple of years with forward-facing sonar, because you guys, and I keep talking about this a lot, guys, because you can't not talk about it. There has been such a complete 100% total takeover domination of the sport by that technology. You simply can't not talk about it. It is such a dominant force in the sport that it is at the forefront of literally everything we talk about in the sport. So that's sort of the purpose of this. And one of the things that I found out, because I've been in this fight against forward-facing sonar for 2 years now, I sort of equate it to college physics, because some people, physics comes really easy to some people. In other words, and I equate that to like understanding the dangers and the drawbacks of technology and fishing. Some people understand that, the dangers and the drawbacks and everything that goes with it, the negative part of it. But some people just can't get it. It's just like in college, guys. Some people struggled with physics, and as hard as they worked with it, they could not wrap their mind around it. And there's a segment of the bass fishing population that simply can't wrap their mind around what this forward-facing sonar is doing to the future of our sport and the advancing technology. So I want to draw this correlation from Clunn's Classic victory to today. Now, first of all, guys, I'm like everybody else. Ever since I was a little kid, I've been a huge fan of Rick Clunn, and I'm a fan of Rick Clunn's mind and how he approached the sport during, when he was at the top of his game in the sport. And none of that was more evident than the 1990 Bassmaster Classic. I was in that classic. I was a competitor in that 1990 Classic, guys. And Rick, the last day of the tournament, he was in 10th place, and he came from behind to win the Classic out of 10th place out of nowhere. Everybody had just completely counted him out on it. And guys, when I remember, funny, because I was in the last flight the last day of that tournament, and I was coming in to the boat check-in the last day of the Bassmaster Classic, and as I was checking in, I noticed Clunn's boat was tied up to the dock, and he was still in it next to Tommy Biffle. And it sort of struck me odd, because Rick was in the first flight, and normally what they do at the Classic, they load you up one by one according to your flight and take you back into the Coliseum. And he was in 10th place, so I figured he'd be gone, but he was still, at the ramp. So I knew something had happened, that Rick probably had a big stringer. And what happened is to make a long story short and everything, if you guys weren't there, when Rick Clunn weighed in that last day of the Classic, it was, out of all the experiences I've had in bass fishing, and out of all the Classics I've qualified and Forest Wood Cups and every part of fishing I've ever been in, when he rolled into that Classic Coliseum the last day of the tournament, it was a surreal feeling. I can't even explain it. If you were there, you knew what I was talking about. Rick, almost like he had this aura around him, this superhuman aura. When he rolled into that stage, you could feel his energy. It was unbelievable. And then he gets up there and he starts pulling out this giant bag of fish there on the James River. You got to remember, at the James River in August, 10 pounds was a pretty good sack of fish, and Rick had close to 20 pounds that last day, 18 something, which was phenomenal. The last day of the tournament, that time of year at the James River, and he wins the tournament out of nowhere. And he gets up there, he sort of explains the day a little bit, but the real story behind what I'm trying to correlate here is after the Classic, Rick did several interviews about that last day of winning that tournament, and he explained it in the fact that he like rolls into this cypress sort of swamp on the James River. If you've ever been to the James River, guys, there's certain areas there that have these really dark, low light, super thick, super ancient cypress trees, these big fields of them, big flats of them, and you can get back in there and you feel like that you're 10,000 years or 50,000 years ago. It looks ancient and primeval, and looks like something the way the earth was hundreds of thousands of years ago. So he's in there and he's explaining about how he's getting into there, and he's talking about how almost like he feels he's not even on the James River. It's like he's experienced to some level some type of a spiritual event where he has transcended the physical realm of being there on the James River, and he's in like another world himself. And he's talking about how everything is just perfect. It's like, he made a comment I remember reading. It's like if he'd cast his crankbait over to a stump and get hung up, he wouldn't get upset, because he knew in his mind he was in this other realm, and he knew when he went over there to get his lure unhung that the position of the boat, the way the boat was positioned, his next cast was going to lead to the next fish he caught. There was nothing but perfection all day long. I talked to his press rider that was fished with Rick that last day too, and he was the same way. The press rider told me, he goes, I felt that I had left this world. He goes, I felt I wasn't even on the earth anymore. He said it was this unbelievable spiritual experience of being in this moment where Rick was like touching perfection. And Rick talks about that a lot in his career, about touching perfection and understanding the nuances and immersing himself in nature and understanding bass movement and behavior on a level that is above anyone else's comprehension, and showcasing the full power of instinct and intuition and creativity in your fishing, which he did that last day. That last day on the James River, guys, was probably the most perfect day of fishing that any professional angler has ever had. And Rick has had many days like that. This is just one example. So take that, and then you flash forward to 2024 with the advent of the forward-facing sonar technology and everything that's advancing. Guys, make no mistake about it, the technology advancements over the past 2 years, the stuff that Rick Clunn talks about and the way that Rick Clunn fished and the magic that Rick Clunn brought into the sport and influenced people like myself, that influenced me deeply. That tournament he won there, those days are gone. Those days are absolutely gone forever. The days of using your primal, instinctual, intuitive, natural abilities to hunt and locate and find fish, and to allow fishing to be something more than fishing. It becomes this, for lack of better terms, it becomes a spiritual experience that you cannot quite equate to anything else. The introduction of forward-facing sonar and technology has robbed that from us. And the thing that I try to beat into people's mind about this is not anything that has to happen. The only reason that we are being robbed of the magical experiences that Rick Clunn shared with us from winning that 1990 Classic are the decisions from Bassmaster and MLF to allow forward-facing sonar to be legal. If they would do the right thing, bass anglers are trying to give them the opportunity to do the right thing. If they would do the right thing and outlaw that and put limitations on it, we would never be in the position that we are right now. We would still be in the position where we would have that magic and wonderment that Rick Clunn showed us over 30 years ago. But guys, the magic and wonderment of that is gone. It's gone forever now, because when you are out there fishing and you've got freaking 5 electronic screens on your boat and you've got brakes on your power poles and you see every single fish that you know that you see every single fish that you catch before you even catch it on live imaging technology, it takes away all of those primal, instinctual, magical moments like Rick experienced. Rick didn't know if there was a bass sitting next to any specific cypress tree there. It was instinct and intuition that pushed him into those areas. It was understanding casting angles, it was understanding the bait he was using on to intimate level, it was understanding boat positioning, speed to retrieve, everything that went with that. None of that stuff makes any difference anymore, guys. We've been robbed of that. And if you struggle with the ability to understand what I'm talking about like that, I really would hope and suggest that you reevaluate what fishing actually is out there. Don't get sucked into the technology. Don't get sucked into these people that are trying to endorse it and force it down your throats, because it has degraded what fishing is. Fishing in 2024, with the advent of forward-facing sonar and that type of technology, is not on the same level as it was in 1990 when Rick Clunn won that Bassmaster Classic. It is a shadow of itself. We have been robbed of all of the intrinsic value of that sport. And I understand fully that there's a lot of guys out there now in their 20s and 30s that do not understand what I talk about when I'm saying intrinsic value. They goof on me, they laugh about it, they go, whatever, nut job, Randy, talking about intrinsic value and magic and mystery of the sport. They don't understand that, the same way that some people do not understand physics equations out there. So the point of the matter is, guys, if you could go back and see some of the stuff, and I use Rick Clunn as example because he's the best example. His Classic win in 1984, his U.S. Open wins at Lake Mead in 1983, and I think it was 1985. His Bassmaster Classic win in 90, and all of the other tournaments that he's done good in. The magic of Rick Clunn, and the magic and the mystery and the wonderment of the way his mind works in relationship to bass movement, behavior on an intimate level, the way that bass fishing really should be, that's gone from our existence, and it doesn't have to be. All it takes for us to get back there, guys, is for Bassmaster and MLF to step up and do the right thing and say, guys, we've made a decision. This is not in the best interest of the sport. We're going to take it back to the way it was before. We're going to put this forward-facing sonar technology, which is awesome, in the hands of the fisheries department and the conservation departments to help maintain the sustainability of our fisheries, but we're not going to allow it in sporting or recreational competition out there. So anyway, that's the best way I can explain it, guys, what I'm trying to get across here. So anyway, shoot me some comments. Let me know what you guys think about that, and appreciate you tuning in. We'll talk later. See you.